Not too long ago, I made a video discussing everything we know about the DCU Batman, of which we knew a lot. That got me thinking about what exactly we know about every other hero in the DCU, and it just so happens that outside of the franchises that have begun, we know the most about the DCU Wonder Woman, the third member of the Trinity. In this video, I'll be going over everything we know about the DCU Wonder Woman, every piece of media, the heroes, the villains, the locations, and even the timeline. Let me know what you'd like the DCU Wonder Woman franchise to look like, and make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and become a member in the noble tier above for early access to videos, and in the king tier for a special shout out. Thanks to these members for the extra support. Starting with the media, while there's a lot more confirmed Batman projects and a bit more confirmed Superman projects, Wonder Woman is one of the only DC franchises to have more than one project confirmed. These two projects are Paradise Lost and a Wonder Woman movie. It's not clear which one will release first, but the first to be announced was Paradise Lost, an adult live-action series on HBO Max inspired by the political complexities set in a fictional medieval society of Game of Thrones, just with Themyscira rather than Westeros. The series is meant to take place prior to Diana's birth, but I think we can assume that it'll take place during the Gods and Monsters era of the last 300 years. We got a hint towards that in the Hall of Justice mural, where we see one Amazonian, Exaristos, who might be the focus of her own side story set elsewhere, which has little to no connection to the plot on Themyscira, in the vein of all the different stories set across the world of Game of Thrones, some of which wasn't even in Westeros. It seems like Exaristos was present in the early 1700s, which I'm going to guess is when the series will take place. This means that Diana is far younger here than she was in the DCEU. In the DCU, she was thousands of years old, while here, if she's not born yet by the 1700s, then she's at most a couple hundred years old. Although, at that point, there's really no difference. She didn't exactly feel thousands of years old in the DCU. For Paradise Lost, we don't know the writers, the showrunners, release date, or whatever, but it's been 2.5 years since the announcement, and Gunn has said that there is progress being made. I'm going to guess season 1 will finally release in 2027, which might just be DCU Wonder Woman's year. Wonder Woman will be getting her own movie, joining Superman, Batman, soon Supergirl, and eventually Swamp Thing as the DC heroes with movie reboots. Wonder Woman will be a theatrically released PG-13 live-action movie about the world's greatest female hero. Anna Nogueira wrote Supergirl and was brought on to write Teen Titans before being moved to Wonder Woman, which was given clear priority. It seems like Teen Titans has been put on hold in favor of Anna Nogueira writing Wonder Woman. We don't know anything else about the movie, but considering Supergirl's quick turnaround and the movie getting priority, I'm going to guess that Wonder Woman will also release in 2027, which would mean that each member of the Trinity gets a movie in 2027, which might be what DC is going for, which would be a great idea. When looking at the lore of the DCU Wonder Woman, most of what we know, and there is a good amount, comes from Creature Commandos. We've gotten confirmation of the existence of one of Diana's primary bases of operations, Washington, DC, which might have sounded obvious, but many real-life locations like New York City or Los Angeles do not exist in the DCU. It's a bit more of a fictional world than most DC universes. Themyscira obviously exists, but also Creature Commandos really casually gave away a lot about it, including even giving us a look at it, including a look at a few Amazons. Man's World is also entirely aware of it as of 2024. Themyscira was hit by a tsunami in the 2010s, which killed the inhabitants who didn't heed Cersei's warning. It has a study around it by 2024 and seems to have actual outside communication, and even seemingly visitors, only women, who can study, interview, and even take images. By the events of Creature Commandos, Themyscira seems to be more open and welcoming than any other version of Themyscira I've seen before. Diana doesn't quite have a team as large as the Bat family, but the Wonder family is nothing to scoff at. In the DCU, we have 3 confirmed heroes, 2 of whom have cameoed. Diana of Themyscira, or Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, will be the main character of her movie, one of the main heroes in the DCU, and cameoed in Cersei's vision in Creature Commandos. In this scene, we see what might be her DCU design, a leotard suit with the stars, a tiara with a big red star, and no sword or shield, the lasso of truth instead. Diana's classic design, which makes sense, they need to differentiate from the DCEU Wonder Woman, which doesn't have a lot of these elements. Exaristos was pictured on the Hall of Justice mural, depicted as one of the first heroes in the Gods and Monsters era. In the comics, Exaristos was an Amazonian exiled from Themyscira and sent to wander Man's World. She wields a big warhammer, teamed up with Etrigan and a few other heroes as the Demon Knights, to help expel Mordru and the Questing Queen from Alba Saram and Camelot. Later, Exaristos reclaimed her honor and was eventually welcomed back to Themyscira after she participated in the American Revolution in the late 1700s. Maybe that's what the mural is depicting. It would fit the timeline. Finally is Nubia, a character confirmed to be a part of the plans by James Gunn, a noble Amazonian originally introduced as Diana's twin sister, later changed to another Amazonian who is Diana's close friend. Sometimes Wonder Woman, sometimes the new queen of the Amazons. I'm going to assume she'll appear in Paradise Lost, likely as one of the main characters. Moving on to the villains, the DCU has introduced a few prominent villains from Wonder Woman's Rose Gallery, and also some really deep cuts. Cersei is the only cast Wonder Woman character as of right now, voiced by Anya Shalatra in Creature Commandos, and likely to be played by her in live action if she ever appears. Cersei is an Amazonian sorceress who wants to take over Themyscira. She has touch-based magic and prophetic dreams. She prophesized a tsunami in Themyscira, as well as the Pakolistani princess Ilana Rostovich teaming up with Gorilla Grodd to kill the world's heroes and take over the world. As we learned in Creature Commandos, Cersei tried taking over Themyscira but was stopped. She left to Man's world, became a supervillain, and was arrested in Metropolis. By 2024, Cersei escaped or was released and became the leader of the Sons of Themyscira, promising them access to Themyscira. They terrorized Pakolistan so that Cersei could kill Ilana. She was stopped by the Creature Commandos, burned by Dr. Phosphorus, and currently is in Belle Reve prison. It's likely she has fought Diana in the past. It's likely she'll appear in Paradise Lost, and I think she'd be the prime candidate to be the main villain of Wonder Woman. The Sons of Themyscira probably never actually met Wonder Woman in this world, and they're very different from the comics where they were the actual discarded Sons of Themyscira, but I'd count them here given their name and affiliation to Cersei. A lot of them were killed and their leader was arrested, so they're probably defunct. Two obscure Wonder Woman villains cameoed in the background of the prison in Creature Commandos. Crimson Centipede is a super silly monster with 16 arms who was created by the Roman god Mars, the god of war, Earth One's equivalent to Ares, in order to kill Wonder Woman, who at the time was his granddaughter. Based on this, and based on him being a constant, Ares can basically be confirmed to exist in the DCU. Then again, I guess Crimson Centipede can have a different origin in the DCU, so maybe not. But I mean, the old gods will always exist in every DC universe, at least mentioned, so we could assume Ares just based on Crimson Centipede's existence. Egg Fu is a huge egg-shaped supervillain and agent of the Chinese Communist government who was a recurring villain of Wonder Woman whose racial elements, originally very apparent, were reduced over time. The DCU version doesn't have the mustache and doesn't look Asian. He looks more like the modern take on Egg Fu, whose real name is Shang Tzu. One supporting character we know about is Isla McPherson, voiced by Stephanie Beatrice. The character does not have any affiliation with Wonder Woman in the comics, but in the DCU she definitely does. She was the foremost professor on Themysciran studies. She was killed and replaced by Clayface at the order of Ilana Rostovich, so she's dead now, but she was a professor of Themysciran studies. So that brings us to the timeline, and we can actually put something together. The timeline will be based on a few things: the Gods and Monsters era, Exaristo's place on the mural, and what we know about Themyscira as of the events of Creature Commandos, which take place in 2024. Paradise Lost will be the earliest timeline entry in Gods and Monsters in general, taking place over the course of the 1700s. We'd start in the early 1700s, Exaristos would be exiled in the early 1700s, and take part in the events showcased in the very beginning of the mural, which seems to have some Arthurian legend influence. Then maybe a second season where the characters do not age at all. We'd skip to the late 1700s and showcase Exaristos' later adventure as she takes part in the American Revolutionary War. In 1783, she'd be allowed back to Themyscira. As she is, I think Paradise Lost as a series will end. I also think it'll end with the creation of Diana, meaning those events would have to happen around the same time. And thinking about it, especially when you think about her costume, I love the idea of Diana being around the same age as the United States of America. So Diana will be born, and Exaristos' exile will end around the 1770s or 1780s. Based on the mural, it seems unlikely to me that Wonder Woman was active during one of the world wars. This would also differentiate her from the DCU Wonder Woman. She debuted in the present day. That said, by 2024 there is a study around Themyscira, so she would have to have been around for a good while, formally introducing Themyscira to the world, as opposed to Exaristos, who nobody knew where she came from. There's also one line in Creature Commandos where John Economos said that Themyscira is known to exist. It's a fact. We know that now, which makes me think it's a little bit more recent. If it was like 20 years ago that we know about Themyscira, then I don't think you would say that. If it's the 2010s, it's only been a few years since Themyscira was revealed to the world, and even later that it became an actual fact. I think that line makes more sense. This would all happen during the 2010s. Beginning in the very early 2010s, Diana would come to man's world and debut as Wonder Woman. She's faced with Ares, who creates the Crimson Centipede to destroy her. Diana defeats them both, Crimson Centipede is arrested, Egg Food then debuts and is also arrested. Themyscira is revealed to the world, and Diana becomes the ambassador to the United States. In 2014, Cersei warns Themyscira of a tsunami. Those who didn't heed her warning were killed. Believing herself a savior and Themyscira's best chance, Cersei tries to install herself as the new leader, but is prevented from doing so. She escapes to man's world, where she becomes a supervillain. Thanks to Diana's efforts, Themyscira begins opening themselves up to foreign nations, allowing foreign women to come to their island, and a study around Themyscira is formed. Cersei is then arrested in Metropolis, but later escapes. In the early 2020s, Isla McPherson gets her PhD in Themysciran history. In 2023, the Sons of Themyscira form. In 2024, Cersei receives a vision of Ilana Rostovic and Gorilla Grodd taking over the world. Cersei takes control of the Sons of Themyscira. The events of Creature Commandos then take place in 2024. The events of the Wonder Woman movie then take place in the year it releases, probably 2027. This timeline obviously is not set in stone, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Still, with the rest of the video, that's everything we know about the DCU Wonder Woman, more than I thought going into it.